I've been a big fan of yours since Young Adam, and once again, you've made a superb film, so congrats to you.
Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it. Quite
So,
quite a different film to Young Adam.
a very different film than Young Adam. So, when I saw the film at Tribeca, I really got like, the 70s espionage conspiracy vibe, like the conversation. And it went back to the script. And I'm looking online here, and I guess the writer is Justin Piasecki.
Yeah.
Talk about you getting the script and your initial reaction to the script.
Well, yeah, the script kind of came to me. I mean, it was in 2019, and actually, my producing partner Gillian read it first and said, you're going to like this." And I had to take a train down to England, and I read it during the journey. I went, "Oh, this is really cool. I like, I can, I think this is really cool." So that's how it happened. It's taken a few years to kind of materialize, but yeah, and I thought it was very strong, and I connected. I mean, connected to lots of things, but the sort of again, that is that sort of paranoid vibe that I kind of thought was really cool. So yeah, and the opportunity to do something in New York that had that flavor to it, that could, the sort of loneliness in the big city kind of thing, and the individual, singing it to the man in some way, and there was something kind of, that was definitely exciting to me.
So much of what makes the film really thrilling is your superb editing, right? I mean, the cutting between the primary characters and Worthington chasing them. So I'm curious, were those instructions and beats in the script, or did you do that in post?
They were all, I mean, the script has evolved a long way from the when I got it in 2019. I think even by the early 2020, Justin was no longer involved, and so I was kind of carrying the can with the script, and so it's obviously the DNA of it. I respect the original material, but we had to change quite a lot in order to make it fit the reality and to make it all make sense. So anything editorial is definitely really just editorial. That's the way it's come about. And I work with an editor, Matt Mayer, who I've now done two films with. At the time, we hadn't done anything together, so we were going on a kind of a journey of discovery with each other. And a lot of what I shoot is improvised and different each time. I'm not trying to, there's a looseness to the way I shoot, so it throws the edit into a very creative place because there are many opportunities, and I really like the edit on it, and obviously I like Matt enough to carry on working with him, and we're still doing it and good friends, but part of the idea with the edit was never really to have um a comfortable edit, to keep the edits a little bit jumpy, a little bit on edge, and so everything's kind of a bit hard, and so you're using it to create the tension, and you're using it to create the sense of edginess.
You guys, you and Matt do an amazing job. I mean, the pacing in my review I write, it's like an ember that you feel is going to explode into a flame at any point in time. So I was literally at the edge of my seat. Okay, so let's move to casting. Phenomenal cast. Love Riz, love Lily, love Sam. And one of the things that I find so great about this film is you have these two characters that are on divergent tracks because they can't physically interact or talk to each other. And so by the third act, they're coming together. So a lot is done solo. A lot is done emoting solo. So, talk about, casting Riz, casting Lily, and getting those like singular performances because many of them are silent where the camera's just watching them be afraid and be paranoid.
Yeah. Well, it's a really, I mean, three great questions all at once. But Riz is an actor who I've admired for a long time, and I think he's one of the best British, best global actors of his generation. I think he's really interesting, and I had an opportunity to meet him, and we share this material, and he connected to it, and we started that journey together, we're creative all the way through, worked through it in rehearsal, and as with Lily, and I've known Lily's career obviously for a long time, and she's never really played anything like this before, so it was kind of really interesting to, because she does come across as a kind of warm person, and that some of that warmth is there in there, but it's a very different character, and so it was great to bring them together. Um, and work through the material, and as I said, we had some strong rehearsals, and just bring them into the fold. When it came to the stuff that they had to do individually, we had been in the room together, obviously rehearsing it. So there was you know we had broken that ice. But yeah, you're right. I mean, particularly Lily, we had to shoot a lot of her stuff over only 3 or 4 days because it was that's all the time we
Hmm.
had that apartment for. So, because she's in the apartment for a lot of the stuff, and she's kind of speaking to, well, luckily we had another actor on the line, but she's speaking, there's no connection between them, so the dislocation between those characters who don't see each other in the flesh until the third act, as you said, it was hard. It's hard to kind of spend the time with them, get all that emotion, and without that direct interaction, and so they were on their own, but I tell you, I think it works really well. And I
Oh,
think, Lily and Rich had never seen it on the big screen before the Tribeca premiere, and they, I think they've been both really, really happy seeing the delicacy of their performance in these close-ups, and how much they're getting across. And obviously, we're there's an intermediate character too with the relay operators, but these two-way, three-way conversations are the heart of the film, really, and the heart of the emotion of the film. And yet, as you say, they're never in the same room.
let's do a deep dive on the moral compass because you nail the whole thriller aspect of it, so that's the win. But when you dive deep into what's motivating Riz's character, right, without revealing spoilers, his backstory, being a Muslim, what he was dealing with, I thought that was very interesting, and it added a bit of gravitas to what was going on, because in reality, this is a film about corporate malfeasance,
Yes.
about these big corporations, effing with people, doing horrible things, and willing to do anything to stop the word from going out. So I want to know if you really wanted to like bolster that tenet, or if that was just basically a subplot.
Well, do you mean the corporate malfeasance, or do you mean Riz's backstory?
Kind of both. I mean, were you
Okay.
trying to address something political about his backstory?
Well, I think the thing it's interesting because it wasn't in the original script, but I really thought it would be. I think it was important for Riz's background to have an understanding of the people who he's trying to help, and so we created that backstory that he was himself a failed whistleblower, and had seen something that he shouldn't have seen, and had tried his hardest to do the right thing, but had basically been broken down by the shunning and the and the rejection and the and you know all of the things that covertly happen if you whistleblow, and it doesn't, it's not necessarily thugs knocking on your door. It can be much more kind of quiet than that, but still it eats into you. And so I just, I felt it was really important to get to understand that element of whistleblowing, and because I think the whistleblowers, it's a tough lot being a whistleblower, even if you end up signing the NDA and keeping quiet. You know what I mean? You you put yourself on a line. You think you're doing the right thing, and not enough people care, and you're left on your own. And I think there was something that sort of deeply sad about many of the whistleblowers that we interviewed, and that sort of sense that whatever they may have done may not have been worth it, which is really interesting. So I think that is really interesting. And obviously, it's happening all the time, and you hear all these, stories of, again, I don't want to be p particular, but I mean, a certain aircraft maker, and people being suicided and all that. It's like, um, it's a murky old world there, and and it's, it's part corporate malfeasance, it's part espionage, it's part, um, just isolated people trying to do the right things, and interestingly, by the way, and I don't know whether I should ignore that last thing. I won't say that. So,
Well, I follow you, but let's avoid the spoilers because I want our audience to really get into that. So let's skip over the corporal malfeasance part for now. So there's a point in the film, when you get to the third act where the action really picks up, and then you have gunplay and you have serious violence, and I thought to myself while watching the movie, if this was done with a major studio sometimes, they'd probably have hammered in for more action in the first and second act, right? And so I thought to myself, wow, this is great that you were able to let that build and boil. So when it explodes, it really has, impact to it. So talk about working with Bleecker Street and their distribution. Did they give you any notes about maybe wanting to add more action in the film or make it more violent?
no, I mean, because Bleecker Street came in, when the film was finished, so they understood what it was. But um, there were certain conversations earlier on about where, whether to kind of make it more pop and make the baddies, badder to begin with, you know what I mean, or whatever. But it just felt that, to me, that felt like a kind of artificial thing. And I also, again, I like the idea of a film that starts off as one thing and becomes something different, along the journey. So I was quite happy to have something that feels kind of intense and slow burn, and that the fuse is kind of coming, and the explosion will come, at some point that down the line, so yeah, I mean, that's the film we made. So and that's the film that we're going out into the world with.
So, I know we only have a couple minutes. Can you give us any insight into what you're doing next, what your next project is? Is it going to be something like this, something radically different? What are you doing next?
I hope it's radically different. For a start, I'm just finishing a movie called Fuze, which I shot in London last year, which is uh, a sort of I would say it's a bank robbery and an unexploded bomb mashup movie.
Wow.
So it's called Fuse, and it's a fast burn as opposed to a slow burn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really pleased that we made it independently. We've sold it in the UK. We haven't sold it in this country yet. But I think it's going to be really good.
Who are the leads in that film?
Aaron Taylor Johnson, Theo James, Sam Worthington again, and Gugu Mbatha-Raw.
Wow, that's an all-star cast. I can't wait, mate.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, yeah, no, it's fun. It was a very different beast to doing relay, but it's got its own flavors to it, and it's pretty relentless, which is kind of fun.
All right, so let me sneak one more question in because I know you have to leave in a few seconds. But I've seen all of your films, and through the arc of your career, there's everything is different. There's different subject matters, different films, action, drama, whatever. But I always look at it as interpersonal connection, right? I feel in every film you do, the leads have some kind of interpersonal connection that's really driving a dynamic storyline. Would you agree that's something that you find fascinating, or am I just seeing things when I
Yeah,
watch
no,
some
I think
movies?
it is. I mean, my wife always says I'm actually also really romantic. That there are these kind of sort of strange romances, even if they don't work. In that connect the films, even though they're very different. And I definitely think there tends to be some sort of slightly outsider characters who are sort of grappling with trying to, be on the not be quite so far outside in some way. Not that, so. Yeah, it's weird because I really do try not to make the same film twice. And I'm a bit worried about Fuse because it's another bank robbery movie, but it's a very different bank robbery movie to Hell or High Water. Um, but it's fine. It's fun to find those kind of underlying themes that you kind of can't resist.
Bravo. Well, I know you got to go. Thank you, David. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you,
Relay. A big fan of yours.
thank
Cheers.
you very much. I really appreciate Julian, and great to talk to you. And thanks for cool questions.